So, well, welcome everybody. Thanks for taking some time to join Jack and I today. Obviously, AI has been a topic for us over the last 4 or 5 months, but this one in particular, I'm really looking forward to. I'm Corey Factor. I'm the CTO here at the DigiDeck, and I'll let Jack introduce himself as well.
Yep, I'm the VP of sales here at DigiDeck. So good to be here today. Always fun to get in front of our DigiDeck family.
And for some of the that have are attending the webinar for the first time, you maybe think, well, why does the head of sales take the time to do a demo? We've found that, particularly with AI, there's a ton of technical feature capabilities we've built in, but Jack is a huge AI adopter for his entire team, and so he's able to show you what it looks like from a sales leader's perspective. And so he does a great job of tying it back to real world things that actually happened, and actually how he uses it. So we always love having real world examples from Jack. So we're going to show you a bunch of use cases from our AI, and I'll just state that about 2 years ago, when we started to think about what our customers were looking for out of our AI and where we could provide the most value, the early conversations were really about creative capability. How do I create a presentation? How do I create a slide? And what we've found, particularly over the last 4 or 5 months, as we're getting more mature adoption from our customers, is a lot of the use cases are applicable at the beginning of a sales cycle, the middle, and the finish. And a lot of the use cases are not just about create me a presentation, create me a slide. So as Jack's going through this today, I think you're going to see a bunch of examples that you may have not thought of, because a lot of people approach it thinking, oh, great, DigiDeck has AI. That's going to help me creating a presentation. But it's much more than that. And frankly, the value is stronger in some of these other areas for particular customers. So I hope everybody enjoys the demo. And as always, I'm happy to have any questions answered in the during the webinar. I'll be monitoring that. And of course, afterwards, if anybody wants to follow up one-on-one, happy to do that as well.
All right. So as Corey said, our own team is obviously very big adopters of Digi AI. But what I'm going to show today isn't just, hey, this is what our sales team does, so we think you should do it today. What I'm going to show today is actually the best examples of how I've seen our own customers use Digi AI. Right. When we first kind of released it, we had a hunch of, okay, we think people want to do X, Y, and Z. But as it's actually been out there and been used now, some new things have come to light, some really cool use cases that even I didn't think of that I've brought to my team after kind of learning about how some of our own customers are using it. And so I'm going to start with very simple use cases and work my way up to kind of more complex ones. But I think the thing to keep in mind with Digi AI is that it's all kind of like AI with a seatbelt, right? Because it's adherent to your messaging, your brand, your content. So it's like AI with a seatbelt, right? So everything I'm going to show today has those guardrails and has that seatbelt around it so that you can feel comfortable using it among your team without things happening that shouldn't be happening, which is always a worry with AI. So just want everybody to kind of keep that in mind as we go through the examples today. All right, so I got a lot of things queued up here. Like I said, I'm going to start pretty simple. This first use case is one that can be, used at really any part of the sales cycle, I would say. And the really kind of interesting part about Digi AI, as I've kind of studied how our customers are using it, is when we first released it, I definitely was thinking people are going to want to use it to build full decks, full decks, full decks, right? And what I've actually seen is it's a lot of the smaller kind of individual bite-sized use cases that people are getting a lot of value in when we talk to them about their experience using Digi AI. So this first one is very simple. Here's a slide inside a presentation that I was working on. And as everybody knows, making edits can take a good amount of time, right? So one of the small bite-sized use cases that I've seen is simply using Digi AI to make multiple edits at once. So you can see in this prompt down here, I say, make the blue glow around the 3 boxes yellow instead of blue, and change the title to be DigiDeck value drivers as well. So basically, I'm going to have it do multiple edits, right? It's going to change my title, and it's going to change the glow around this blue box. And the glow around the blue box is something I also want to focus on real quick as well, because I grew up with our platform. So I've been with the company for 10 plus years now. There's still things that I don't know how to do. I wouldn't know how to go change the glow around those boxes manually if you asked me. And there's a lot of customers who they onboard somebody, maybe they're not as familiar with DigiDeck, they don't know where all the buttons are. I've seen a lot of our customers use the AI to basically make it easier for people to do things that they might not otherwise know how to do. Like I said, I don't know how to change that glow around those boxes, but I do know how to type into a box that I would like it to happen. And so all of a sudden, if I can type it into that box down there, I can make it happen. I don't have to know where the buttons are, right? And so that's something that a lot of our customers have found value in, is they're using the AI to be able to do all these things that maybe they didn't know or remember how to do on their own. So let's go ahead and run it and just kind of see what happens, right? But basically, yeah, it's doing multiple edits at once, and one of those edits is not something that I would know how to do without using AI, right? And so again, that has been super helpful for a lot of our customers, particularly that maybe want to do something more advanced that, again, they don't. This is a great kind of way to use Digi AI to accomplish some things that maybe were harder to accomplish before. So we'll go ahead and let it run for just a second. Some of the other ones I've already kind of run through, so we won't have to sit there and wait. But as you can see, sure enough, the glow around the boxes now has the yellow element, and it added the word value at the top here. So I just made multiple edits at once, and again, including something that I do not know how to do manually, right? So keep that in mind. This is a great way to make our platform easier to use, a great way to accomplish things that maybe you otherwise wouldn't know how to accomplish without. Next use case that I've seen our customers use, and this is one that we do use quite a bit ourselves, is Digi AI now can read all of the analytics across all of your presentations, right? So gone are the days of having to click through the analytics to see what's going on. You can simply come in here and ask any question you want around the engagement analytics for your presentation. So you can see here what I came in here and did just a bit ago is I said, what are the top 10 most viewed presentations in the DigiDeck this month, right? And our DigiDeck is literally called DigiDeck, so I just don't want anybody to get confused by that. But as you can see here, here's our top 10 presentations this month in terms of views. It calls out how many, right? So I can see that, you know, one of the ones we did for the OKC Thunder has 92 views versus, you know, the rounding out the top 10 is something that's untitled, 38 views, but you kind of get the gist, right? So immediately I can see across all of our decks, what are the top 10 in terms of views? And then I take it, you know, a little bit further, right? So I call out, hey, we won the deal with Fair Play. What were the top 3 most viewed slides from that deck, right? So I'm calling out this deck right here because it happens to be from a deal that we won. And so what you're going to see me do, again, is ask what were the top 3 most viewed slides in that deck. And I'm curious about that as a sales leader because we won that, right? So I want to see in that deal that we won, what was the viewers looking at? So I can see here that it gave me the 3 slides: deck name, DigiDeck solution, investment summary, signature package, right? So I know it's a pricing slide. It's kind of our all-encompassing DigiDeck slide. This is a little bit rare of one to get that much view time. So very interesting to me. And then the deck name. The deck name is kind of that cover page, not the most useful, right? So what then I came back and said is like, hey, exclude the deck name. Like that's not going to help me as a sales leader kind of pinpoint what was special about that deck in terms of why we won that deal. So I asked it to redo it. Now it gives me the top 3 slides apart from, you know, that deck name slide, which is kind of the cover page. And then basically once it did that, I came in here and said, okay, now can you build me a copy of that deck, but personalize it to Daktronics based on research you do from the Daktronics website. So basically what I'm showing here is I used Digi AI to basically pull up, you know, top 10 decks. I picked out the one we won a deal from, right? Asked it, what's the most viewed content in that deck we won the deal from? And now I'm basically having it build me a deck modeled after the deck that we just want to deal with, but personalizing it to the new prospect or the new person that we're pitching, right? So all of a sudden you can start to see all the different things you can do with this. Like there's so much information now at your fingertips that you used to have to manually sort through. You don't have to do that anymore. You can just ask questions and parlay it into another deck, right? To like really get a really personalized deck that's based off of something that's gone out there and won for you before. So very, very interesting. And as you can see here, it kind of ran through, and I now have a deck modeled after that deck that just won us a deal, except personalized to the new prospect. I did all this in about 5 minutes, I would say, is how quick it can happen. But have seen our customers really, really engage with this functionality a lot, just because there's so many different questions you can ask about your engagement analytics that can help you kind of basically create better presentations at any point in the sales cycle, right? So this is another use case that works at the beginning of the sales cycle, middle of the sales cycle, end of the sales cycle. Doesn't really matter. Being able to understand how people are engaging with your content in this type of way is very game changing. All right, next one. And again, they're going to get progressively more fun, I should say. So next use case has to do with really leaning into that AI with a seatbelt functionality that I was talking about. And this is a use case that we particularly run towards the end of a sales cycle when we're sending out like a proposal. If you send out proposals early on in the sales cycle, then that might be at the beginning. But for us, that typically handles or happens at the end. And one thing that's very important to me as a sales leader when our team is sending out proposals is that we essentially follow a very specific criteria with those presentations beyond the brand, the font, the look and feel, all that type of stuff, because that's hard coded into the master deck library, as everybody knows. But I want further control as a sales leader, especially over what the AI is referencing when doing something like what I'm about to show. So basically in the back end of our platform, if you have our DigiAI turned on for your account, you essentially get access to what's called the AI deck summary. And what this is basically a place for you to go write anything and everything you want the AI to adhere to when it's doing something and your team is using it. So this box is very long because we have a lot of rules in here. What I want to focus on is that top one, which is a deck quality checklist specifically for proposals. And so basically I've come in here and put a very specific checklist of things that a proposal deck needs to have before it goes out. And the way this is put into action is, again, as an admin, I just come back here, fill that out, right, with my rules. And then when somebody on my team does something like this, where they go into DigiAI and they say, review the deck quality of the deck titled Daktronics built on the 28th of July. It is now going to reference on its own. The user doesn't have to do anything. It's going to reference that checklist that I'd kind of built in the back end here, right? Just with typing it out. So now when it actually reviews the deck quality of this deck that was built before we sent it out, you can kind of see it's grading it against that checklist that I put in the back end. So as you can see here, we are failing on multiple fronts here. So as a user, or as one of my reps would say, they're going to have to go back and fix this, right, before we actually send it out. So it's kind of a way to ensure further best practices are happening with anything you send out, right? Because you can basically make this kind of summary, or I think of it as like the rules for DigiAI. You can make this anything you want. So I've seen people put pricing in here, for example. I've seen people put, stylistic type things. Like for us, there's never an instance where a deck should go out where it says DigiDeck in lowercase, because we stylize our brand as like all uppercase, right? So you can write something as simple as that as a rule in here. So this is really why we say AI with a seatbelt, because you can control exactly how it acts for individual people and put further guardrails into place, kind of like with the master deck library, where we have the guardrails around locking down certain parts of slides or preventing people from editing a slide at all. It's kind of the same idea with this, where you can basically ensure that certain things happen or ensure that best practices are being followed when the team is using DigiAI. So on top of that, once it kind of calls out all of those things that didn't pass, the best part is you can just say, okay, cool, can you fix it for me? And basically within a couple seconds, you have all of those issues that were kind of noted here against that checklist. You can have those fixed and you'll be ready to send out the deck, which is why a lot of teams and a lot of our customers really like this one because it's not really that much of a lift, right? To get something out the door that now really is really buttoned up and putting your best foot forward because it just takes a couple seconds, right? As a user, you just run this, it tells you what doesn't pass. You say, cool, fix it. Great. Now you can send it, right? You can sleep better at night knowing that everything going out above board definitely helps me sleep at night. Another one that I've seen very commonly among our customers, and this is one I typically see towards the beginning of the sales cycle, which is you kind of have an intro call, and a lot of our customers record their calls, or at the very least, like have some type of note taker that takes notes based on the calls that they partake in. And so what I'm doing here is I just dragged the call notes from a call that we had recently. I just dragged it into the chat down here. You can see it attached it. And then I said, build me a follow-up deck for the Chicago Sky based on the attached transcript / call notes. And so all of a sudden, within just a couple seconds, I now have a fully personalized deck based off of those call notes, right? And so it's not just grabbing the right slides from the master deck library, right? Because that's part of what it's doing. But what the special part of it is it's knowing where to personalize the text based on those call notes to really make the presentation stand out, right? So if we actually look at what it generated, so the little subtle things that it'll do for us, at least right off the top, is it'll put, Chicago Sky down here, right? So it'll kind of brand the proposal to them, kind of call that out. But more specifically, when we go to, let's say, the proposal area of this presentation, in our sales process, there's a rule that anytime we kind of send somebody a proposal, before pricing must come a slide like this, where we essentially walk through a couple different things. It's, hey, here's what you're facing now. Here's what you want to achieve. Here's how DigiDeck helps. And as we click these out, everything in here is personalized based on the transcript, right? So nobody on my team has to come fill this out, type this in by hand. It is just done for them. And it does a really good job, right? So within just a couple seconds, I have basically a full presentation as a follow-up ready to go after I had that call, just based off of notes. You can really do a lot with that, right? I mean, it gets really good at personalizing based off of those notes to the point where I've seen people have the entire copy throughout the presentation be personalized on those notes. You can certainly have it do that if you want. So you can go as crazy with it as you want, but yeah, any type of call notes, any type of, I've seen people take like just a raw Zoom transcript and drag it in here and then have it build a full deck based on that transcript. So it's able to understand what are the right slides I should grab and how do I personalize those slides just based off of attaching those notes. All right, so getting a little bit more advanced now. Another common one that I've seen with our customers is using screenshots in a really creative way, right? Maybe you have a CRM, maybe you have data in somebody sent you an email, maybe it's a spreadsheet, and maybe you don't have that integrated with DigiDeck, right? What I've seen people do is they'll pull up, like, here's an opportunity record for us in Salesforce. They'll take a screenshot of this, right? So you can kind of see it's capturing price, it's capturing goals, problems, challenges. It's capturing a lot of information about this specific deal. And so all people typically do is they'll take a screenshot of that, they'll paste it into the chat, just drag it in there, and then they'll say something like, build me a proposal for play. That's the name of this account in particular. Personalize the deck based on the screenshot. And so what you'll see is that it's able to basically reference, all the notes that are here, right, for this stuff to determine which slide should it grab from the master deck library and how should it personalize the text on those slides. And then, of course, it's able to put in the pricing for me automatically. So we can go ahead and take a look. So like if we go to our pricing, you can see not only did it put it in there, but it put it in exactly the right area for me, right? So I didn't have to go type that in. I didn't have to think about it. I just basically one-shotted a full proposal with pricing and with personalization in there, simply just based off of a screenshot. And this can work with any CRM, anywhere that you have information living, that you want to move into a presentation or have a presentation built off of, and have it personalized. So another very, very cool one that I've seen a lot of our customers do. The next one or last one I would say is, I know we have a lot of DMOs that are sitting in on this call. Kind of a similar thing that I've seen happen is, and this is for anybody that does executive summaries in their presentation, is I've seen them use DigiAI where instead of dragging a screenshot of like a CRM in there, they will drag the RFP document that was submitted to them with all the requirements for like a bid. And they will basically take that RFP document, drag it into the chat. They'll also give it the website of whoever submitted the RFP, and they will have DigiAI build a presentation that specifically personalizes this aspect, which is the executive summary of the presentation or the bid that they're responding to that RFP with. And a lot of our customers have noted that this is in particular helped them capture a lot more wins just by that small personalization happening. And it's really something that everybody should do because the effort to do it is so low with DigiAI. I mean, there's really no reason why you shouldn't do it. It just is going to make you stand out and make it seem like you put more time into it than you really did because you can do this so easily now. I'm going to stop there before I go on to the next one. Corey, is there anything you want to add before I kind of go into the next little section of the more advanced fun ones here in just a moment? You're on mute, Corey.
Sorry, I had a sneeze, so I thought I should mute for that. No, I think we're good. I'm getting a couple of questions here along the way. So some the questions are sort of preempting some of the things that you're going to show next. So I think we're on the right track.
All right. So next up, this is something that some of our customers may or may not know. So in our platform, we have under the tools section, something called forms. And so what you're looking at is a form. And as you can see here, it has some questions on it. So it has like name, company, what kind of call is this that you're like preparing a deck for? What industry is the person that you're going to be presenting to in? Is this a proposal deck you're making? Just a bunch of questions. And these forms are typically personalized to our customers to basically make their what we call DigiBuilder work, which is the functionality where you answer a few questions and then it grabs the perfect deck for you. We've actually taken that and enhanced that, and now it works with DigiAI. And so this is really AI with a seatbelt in a big way because this is kind of the end experience that gets created. And this is very new, and some of our customers are really excited about this. Is I can come in here and with very low effort just say, need to build a proposal, right? I don't want to type out everything. A lot of people don't know how to direct AI. Like that's another thing we've learned is like people don't know how to write a good prompt to get a personalized deck all the time, right? That's what we were seeing. So we were kind of like, how can we make it easier for people to use AI to build a presentation, but make it so that that presentation has exactly the right things and is personalized exactly the right way without having to have the user type that all out, right? Well, what we do is that form that lives in the back end, Digi can now see that. And so this is what it does for the user, right? So again, I came in here and said, need to build a proposal. What you see here is Digi then comes back with questions. And how I answer those questions determines which slides are brought in and how those slides are personalized. But I don't have to know to give it this information because it is coming and presenting those questions to me on its own based off of this form that's built into the back end that most of the normal users wouldn't know about, right? So basically, if they can type one sentence about needing to build a presentation, Digi will be smart enough to ask them simple questions to build the presentation the right way according to how you want it for your team, right? And so this has been a game changer even for us because again, a lot of people aren't comfortable yet going in there and typing out all the direction for AI to build something. So this just takes that lift off of them entirely. And this form can be fully customized. And it's something you can do on your own, something you can reach out to our team about. But it basically gives your team an easy way to use AI to build these awesome decks. And the great part is it's deterministic. And so what I mean by that is if I say run this prompt and I answer these questions the same way each time, it's always going to give me the same slides, personalized the same type of way. So there's no like, AI magic happening where it's making different decisions every time. Every time it's going to include the same slides, personalized the right way. So it gives kind of a little bit more control, even though they're using AI, it's deterministic, right? Versus if you kind of go in there and say, just build me a deck and don't do it this way, it'll grab, what it thinks is best, right? Which is okay in a lot of cases, but this gives you more full control that what's coming out of here is going to be more predictable and more kind of what you want to see happen every time. So really cool, really excited for this. This is something that we've been using a whole ton and just kind of released in the very near bit here. So awesome one, Corey. I don't know if you want to say anything on this because I know you worked hard on kind of bringing this to life, Corey.
Yeah, I think the thing that we're, not to get too technical of a term, but the deterministic versus non-deterministic was a goal at the beginning of this whole AI journey. And I said, if we can bring the best of both worlds together, then I think we're creating a lot of value in what our customers really want. And this represents an example of that, where you may want a choice A, B, or C, and nothing else, and that's deterministic. And so this is bringing those two worlds together, and they're really building on top of each other. So I'm super excited about this. The initial feedback has been fantastic, and this is what, 6 weeks old, something like that. So it's fairly new. But I think it's going to really, really help our customers have a more streamlined, more relevant content for their users.
Yeah, and this is something that again is personalized to how you guys work, and so we've done a lot of these for different industries, different partners that we have. So if you're interested in this, if you reach out to us, we'll help you set up that form and personalize it to how you want it to work, right? So again, that way you can give your users Digi AI, they can type one sentence and they're going to build an awesome presentation because Digi's going to ask them the right questions. And a lot of times they just need to give a yes or no answer. As you can see here, I had to say, who is this for? Okay, Chicago Bears, easy. Is it a 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year proposal? Oh, it's a 1 year, right? So like simple stuff like that, but it goes a long way for getting the right result when using AI. And this is, really key and something different than what I've seen out there is just being able to build in this type of control and this type of functionality. So something that we're more than willing to do if you want help doing it. And I do think it's worth it from what I've seen in terms of feedback from our own customers and from myself using it with my team. This next one is probably the most advanced one I'm going to show. This is something that's also very new that a lot of our customers are very interested in. This one involves our MCP connector, which is different than what I'm showing right now, because what I'm showing is Digi AI inside our platform, right? This chat is, if I get rid of this, it's just inside our platform. The next thing I'm going to show is something that we call the sales cockpit. Some of our customers call it something differently, but it works through our MCP connector. And for those of you that don't know what that means, all an MCP connector is the plug that an organization builds to plug in their software into an LLM, which would be like ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, Gemini, you name it. It's basically the plug that makes everything in DigiDeck be able to be controlled by that external LLM. And part of the functionality that you get with that MCP connector is obviously those LLMs can do a variety of different things. And so what we've actually done, we use Claude here internally, is we hooked up Claude through our MCP connector DigiDeck and had Claude design out kind of like an interface that we call the sales cockpit. And I'll kind of walk you through what it is. And this is something big I use with my team. So think of this as like a one-stop shop for everything somebody on my team needs to do to be able to do well at their job as a sales individual. So it tracks leads that they've been given, their active pipeline, all the accounts they have, and then their DigiDeck analytics among all of those presentations that they've sent out for their different pipeline opportunities or their leads or their accounts. And again, this can be totally customized to your organization and how you work, right? So this is just how we've set it up, but these buttons could be completely different. The look and feel could be completely different. But what the magic is our LLM in Claude is hooked up to a bunch of different data sources. So DigiDeck, Salesforce, our Google Drive, our Zoom transcripts, all of that is hooked up to Claude. And so what this is it's pulling in and using all that information, for example, to pull in a rep's pipeline, right? It's looking at our CRM and it's saying, here's all of their deals. And then if I click into one, I can actually see, what are the pains, who's involved in that deal, X, Y, Z. And what we really love about it, though, is that we've made something like this actionable because of DigiDeck and that connector, right? Where essentially somebody on my team, as you can see here, this is kind of lists out like the top 6 things they should do today based on all that data being pulled in. One of which is, hey, you have a lead at Broadway Plus. We should get him a deck, right? You have a meeting coming up. He doesn't know much. We know that because that was left in the notes when he scheduled a meeting with us in our CRM. And essentially, my team comes in here. We hit generate and send, just this one button here. What this is doing now is looking at our master deck library in DigiDeck, personalizing the slides, grabbing the right slides, grab their logo for that lead, even brought their background in for that lead. You saw how quick that was. So I'm not in DigiDeck at all. I literally hit that button as you just saw, and I now have a DigiDeck fully personalized, ready to go. And I can send that out all from just a sales cockpit, which also has a ton of other information, right? So when it's personalizing that deck, it knows a whole ton about that individual, right? It knows all the information that our other systems have. And so this is a more advanced one, but something that I think is very, very, like if you can set something up like this, and we can certainly help do it because it can be totally customized to you, it totally will change the way that people work in your organization every day. We live in this thing now. And it gets even better because as things happen in a deal, for example, instead of having to go manually update the deck, like let's say some new information was pulled into here via our CRM, because this refreshes every so often. In one click, anybody on my team can alter the DigiDeck that's already been built based on the latest information. So I'm able to one click hit a button, and it is going to basically personalize this presentation based on any new data that's been captured since I built it. And so we're one click adjusting the presentations all the way through our sales cycle with this. So, it can be as simple as the account, the lead, the whatever you're working emailed you and said, hey, it'd be great if it had this. This pulls that in. I hit this button, boom, done. Don't even have to think about it. Right. This is definitely, again, a little more advanced, but something that we have done a few times now. And, I think we could do a really cool one for a bunch of different industries, a bunch of different organizations based on how everyone works, right? Because we have experience kind of across the board from manufacturing and hospitals all the way up to professional sports, right? So we've kind of seen it all. And that's the good news, is this is kind of fully customizable based on how you work. So Corey, anything you want to add on the cockpit and just the idea around it?
The idea is leave you where you do most of your work if you're a sales team. And just like years ago, we've developed capabilities to embed right within your CRM. We think this is going to be the future place where salespeople do most of the work is within your AI. And so what we're demonstrating here is, as you guys are thinking about adopting more AI functionality and building more tools for your salespeople, we can be right alongside of that. And so this might be Copilot. This might be OpenAI. It might be Claude, as Jack mentioned. But our ability to be portable and tightly integrated with that AI experience that I'm sure you guys are all going to be building out over the next couple of years, we can be right there.
And Corey, I would say just to show like another example of a very different one, here's a different one for like a venue partner where they just chose to have a very simplified version, which just shows like, here's all the RFPs they've gotten. Here's the like live responses or digidecks that they have on RFPs that they've gotten that they've already sent out. And they essentially just track have all their RFPs filter in here. And we hit one click and you can see here now it's generating a digideck in response to that RFP. It's really that simple. Definitely the future, and something I think if you can implement sooner rather than later, you're going to be ahead of the curve. I mean, you saw how quick that was. Like, I have a deck that looks this good in seconds that's fully personalized. I mean, that would be unthinkable a year ago.
Yeah,
So,
and it's using the data. That's the other key is it's going to use all of that data that surrounds it in that interface to create that personalization. It's not like some other integration anymore. The integration is the chat interface. So, a question was asked related to this is, um, do you need to have a company business LLM for this to work? So I just want to be clear that everything Jack was showing you up to the point of the sales cockpit, that's all embedded within our platform. It's a functionality that's part of our platform. You do not need a separate LLM for that. The sales cockpit that he showed you, yes, you would build that out with whatever the company LLM is.
yeah, just to show that, Corey, again, all the AI chat that I was showing you, it's just a little button that sits in the corner of the platform here, directly inside the platform. So Corey's right. Everything up until the cockpit is just Digi AI right inside our platform. So if you don't have the AI in your account and you want to do it, when we turn it on, this just appears there and you're ready to rock and roll.
Another question got asked here, Jack, and I'm sure you'd be more than happy to do this. Can you share the prompt you used to create the dashboard? It seems super helpful. Is are you talking? I'm not sure who asked this question, but I'm not sure if they're talking about the sales cockpit as the dashboard, or if it was sort of the analytics.
Hmm? So, I mean, I would say I can answer both. So, I mean, in terms of like the analytics, all I asked was, what are the
Oh.
top 10 presentation the day follow up? Sorry.
Then, Paul, I want to use Claude to create that same platform for my team. Yeah, you can explain what it went into that, Jack. But yes, they clarified they're talking about the sales cockpit.
Hmm. So, yeah, it's nothing special. I basically described to Claude, and like I'm happy to share directly who that was, like the prompt, but it's nothing super elaborate. It's essentially, hey, I want to build a dashboard where my team can deploy DigiDeck super easily while also monitor all of the different leads, accounts, and pipeline that they have. Can you design out an interface, X, Y, Z, and kind of list it out some things? You have to do it in Claude Code. That's the other thing I would say. So it has to be Claude Code. And then you have to have our MCP connector to kind of get it to work. And then your Claude also would have to be hooked up to the sources that you want that pulling in information from. So like your CRM, your Google Drive, your Zoom would have to be hooked up. But if you don't have some of those things hooked up, it's still very valuable, like even with just DigiDeck, right? And your CRM or something like that. But yeah, I'm happy to share, a more specific prompt, or if you're somebody that wants to build that, I mean, just meet with us. We will help you build that. Like we will get
Yes.
that stood up for you. We have people on our team called solutions engineers. And for our customers that haven't worked with them before, that's what we have them for. Because like when it comes to software, we're a little bit different in the sense that like we don't want to just hand you the keys and say, go figure it out, right? That's bad for you and that's bad for us, right? Because what's important to us, people that stay customers of us. So in order for that to happen, we believe that we need to help you get the most out of using our product. And so if you're interested in that cockpit idea or anything I showed, utilize it, utilize us, right? That's why we do these webinars. We will walk you through that and get something stood up for you, exactly how we have it, how I showed it. but ideally more personalized to you. So
Yeah, and Rose, I will follow up with you as well because I know your account pretty well, and I'd be more than happy to dive deeper with you on that.
some more questions in there, Corey.
I think we got the majority of them. Hopefully everybody's seeing the Q&A. There are a lot of questions about how to get started, how to enable this, and just to clarify, depending upon your sort of tiered license structure, there may be an additional cost for this, so there's not a global answer that applies to everybody on that. But if you have questions about it, you can reach out to your customer success manager. If you don't know who they are, you'll see in the Q&A here, we put the email address where it's our general support, and you can send an email to them, or you can always use the online chat support and ask there, and they'll get you to the right person.
And I think one thing on the just like the pricing and the approach to that, Corey, is like we really had two choices, just like everyone understands, right? It's like companies typically do two things. They either turn on AI for free and then they charge you for how much you use it. And that's where you hear the horror stories of I didn't know how much I was using, and they get a bill for thousands of dollars, right? That's an exuberant cost because a lot of people don't understand the tokens and everything that goes with AI. We chose to do it a little bit differently, which is like it's like a small fee to turn it on, and that's it. You can use it as much as you want, right? Just because we don't want the situation to happen with somebody where we turn it on, they go wild with it, and then all of a sudden they get a bill for thousands of dollars, right? So just know that if you choose to want to enable this on your account, it's a small fee up front, and then you get to use it as much as you want across everybody who has a license on your account, which is just a better way of doing it. So just wanted to clear that up as well.
All right, Jack, not to turn this into an interview, but you've done so many things with your team and with AI. Just showed us what was there, seven or eight. What's your all-time favorite within Digi itself that you've seen so far? Do you have one?
I would say my favorite is the one that our customers have said has helped them win more business, which to me is really two of them. It's the taking a Zoom transcript and building the perfect kind of follow-up that's personalized, right? That is something we do each and every time we build a presentation if we have a transcript, right? It just makes it so much more relevant to the person that's receiving it, right? They're not getting this boilerplate like, here's our products, here's what we offer, blah, blah, blah. It frames everything that we offer to them properly because it knows what we talked about, right? So for example, if we talk about the Master Deck library to somebody, instead of just sending them a slide that says, here's what the Master Deck library is, don't you think it'd be so much better if it said something like, hey, you said you're having issues with XYZ. Here's how the Master Deck library is going to specifically be used by your team to overcome those issues that you're facing. Mm-hmm. Way more compelling, right? To me, like in 2026, like if you're not doing that, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. Doesn't matter if you're a DMO, if you're a sports team, because the effort is so low. People expect things to be personalized more than ever, right? So I would say just taking call notes in a Zoom transcript and generating a presentation that's 100% tailored while still on brand and still following the rules I've put into place as a sales leader is a game changer. Now, without those guardrails and without that seatbelt, then it gets a little bit dicier, right? Because you don't really know what it's going to do. But because we have that functionality where you can control it, it makes it a lot more plausible and a lot more effective because you're not relying on the AI to do sure. AI slop, as a lot of people call it, right? You put those guardrails around it.
Great. All right. Well, that was a good session, about 45 minutes in. So I think we got all of the questions. I have a couple of follow-ups after the meeting, but thanks again to everybody that attended today. And like I said, happy to always chat one-on-one if there's anything else we can help you with. Thanks, Jack.